there are all kinds of tricks that I just got into by accident in life. One, I invert all the time. And when I was a weather forecaster when I was in the Air Corps. And how did I handle my new assignment? Being a weather forecaster in the Air Corps is a lot like being a doctor that reads x-rays. It's a pretty solitary. You're in the hangar in the middle of the night and drawing weather maps and you're clearing pilots, but you're not interfacing with a bunch of your fellow men very much. And so I figured out the minute I was actually making weather forecasts for real pilots, I said, how can I kill these pilots? Now that's not the question that most people would ask, but I want to know what the easiest way to kill them would be so I could avoid it. And so I thought it through in reverse that way, and I finally figured out, I said, there are only two ways I'm ever going to, I was in the ferry command, there are only two ways I'm going to kill a pilot. He said, I'm going to get him to icing his plane can't handle, and that will kill him. Or I'm going to get him someplace where he's going to run out of gas before he can land because all the airports are sucked in. And I just was fanatic about avoiding those two hazards.
That is a very smart way of thinking. So let's invert and not ask what we should do to achieve success, but let's ask Charlie what we should do to lose in life. If we just avoid those things, we should do very well indeed. He actually gave a speech in 1986 at Harvard called How to Lose in Life. We can find that speech in Poor Charlie's Almanac. So let me read just a short part of this speech about how to achieve a miserable life. First, be unreliable. Do not faithfully do what you have engaged to do. If you will only master this one habit, you will more than counterbalance the combined effects of all your virtues, however great. If you like being distrusted and excluded from the best human contribution and company, this prescription is for you. And then he adds, I must warn you that if you do not follow my first prescription, it may be hard to end up miserable. I just love it. The way he is able to simplify life, to concentrate only on the most important factors and just get rid of all the noise. That is fantastic. And it is hard to argue that being unreliable is one of the worst traits you can have. Such behavior destroys trust. And without trust, we just can't build any relations, we can't work, we can't progress. My second prescription for misery is to learn everything you possibly can from your own personal experience, minimizing what you learn from the good and bad experiences of others, living and dead. This prescription is a sure-shot producer of misery and second-rate achievement. And then he continues, the prescription is to become as non-educated as you reasonably can. And he gives us an example of not following this prescription. There once was a man who mastered the work of his best predecessors, despite a poor start and very tough time in analytic geometry. Eventually, his own original work attracted wide attention, and he said of that work, if I have seen a little further than other men, it is because I stood on the shoulders of giants. The bones of that man lie buried now in Westminster Abbey under an unusual inscription. Here lies the remains of all that was mortal of Sir Isaac Newton. That is a nice example of learning from others and then building our original work on top of that knowledge. And yes, staying uneducated is a road to nowhere. And it is not only about college degrees and universities, though they can be a great place to meet interesting and driven people that can inspire us, but it is more than that. It is about constantly learning, about constant self-improvement. And the older I get, the more I see that it is not about a specific goal of learning to achieve something. That just creates a short-term feeling of achievement, but it passes just as fast. It is more about the journey, about the learning process, trying to get better, wiser every single day is a goal in itself. Okay, back to Munger. My third prescription for misery is to go down and stay down when you get your first, second, third severe reverse in the battle of life. Because there is so much adversity out there, even for the lucky and wise, this will guarantee that in due course you will be permanently mired in misery. I think this is so true. If we look at the most successful stories, they are stories of resilience, of not giving up, of showing up every day and building your dream. There is a quote from Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. Sometimes you have to give up. Giving up doesn't mean stopping. Don't ever stop. My final prescription to you for a life of fuzzy thinking and infelicity is to ignore a story they told me when I was very young about a rustic who said, "I wish I knew where I was going to die and then I would never go there." Munger is talking here about inverting, but we should probably let him explain it.
That rustic who had that idea had a profound truth in his hand. The way complex adaptive systems work and the way mental constructs work, problems frequently get easy. I'd even say usually are easier to solve if you turn them around in reverse. In other words, if you want to help India, the question you should ask is now, how can I help India? You think, what's doing the worst damage in India? What will automatically do the worst damage, and how do I avoid it? Those of you who have mastered algebra know that inversion frequently will solve problems which nothing else will solve. And in life, unless you're more gifted than Einstein, inversion will help you solve problems.
There is also another story that shows what we can do to get a miserable life.
Now there's another Mozart story. Here's the greatest musical talent maybe that ever lived. And what was his life like? Well, he was bitterly unhappy and he died young. That's the life of Mozart. What the hell did Mozart do to screw it up? Make himself? Well, he did two things that are guaranteed to create a lot of misery. He overspent his income scrupulously. That's number one. That is really stupid. And the other thing was he was full of jealousies and resentments. If you'll overspend your income and be full of jealousy and resentments, you can have a lousy, unhappy life and die young. All you've got to do is learn from Mozart.
Overspending and judging ourselves by comparing to others is a really good way to be miserable. I guess we all know people that always compare themselves to others. That is not a road to happiness. What I really admire about Munger is not that he was a great investor and made a lot of money, but that he was a wise man, a thinker. He loved knowledge, so he was a philosopher. This word in Greek means love of wisdom, and he was also a great teacher to all of us. Well, I think the best thing we can do is just stand on the shoulders of giants such as Charlie Munger.